Hey there, and welcome to episode 55 of Illumination Podcast with Nick and Kizma. I'm Nick, and the topic this week is grounded spirituality.
Welcome to the Illumination Podcast with Nick and Kizma, bringing you ancient wisdom for modern day success so that you can sparkle just a little bit brighter each and every day. If what you hear speaks to your soul, go ahead and give us a rating and a review in iTunes. You can also find us on SoundCloud and Stitcher. And hey, if there's somebody in your life that you think would enjoy this podcast, go ahead and share it with them. Well, hello there, Nick.
Hey, Kizma.
What's going on?
Podcasting.
We are podcasting.
Nice little podcast tune. How has your week been?
How has my week been? My week has been excellent. Excellent with, what is today? We're podcasting on a Saturday. It was a very busy week.
It was, yeah, I would agree. I would
concur. It was very
Yeah.
busy and some, for us, for me anyway, some content creation. I launched my new course, The Science of Spirituality, which I love. I'm so excited about this online training that I just launched. So
You're going back to the roots. Eh?
Going back to the roots, man. I think that's what's, been really calling me, because as I've been watching the state of affairs in the world on Facebook, on TV, and around me, I'm like, wow, people are feeling really chaotic. Right? And I hear this from a lot of people. It's like the things that are distracting them or throwing them off or making them feel like, it's never going to be okay. It's really disturbing. So I was like, man, I'm going back to the roots, to the intellect, to the mind, to the Vedanta, and really get to the science of spirituality. So it was really exciting for me.
Yeah, and you were super excited about it. It was really cool to see you in creation mode of like,
Yeah.
oh yeah.
And that's just the
putting this
first module. I'm going to create module 2 on Monday. So there's 5 modules and they're just all going to be awesome. And then I'm going to add on to it when we're in India, because we're preparing to go to India in a few weeks.
That is exciting and also a little bit surreal.
Yeah, it's
you know?
not daunting. It's a big trip.
This seems to be the nature of life is that even when we do plan things out more further in advance, which is something that we hadn't done very often.
It's like, let's go to India in 3 weeks.
Yeah, that would have been our past life. And now it's like we planned this one for several months, but then it's like, oh, like it's already like here,
It's
like
almost here.
It's almost here. It's like, oh, we got to get the dog sitter, make sure the pets are handled and everything like that. So
yeah.
And then it's like, wow, it's like we're just moving at the speed of life.
Yeah.
It's exciting though.
Speed of life. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really exciting. And I'm excited for that. I think it's so cool going back to the roots of the Vedanta roots. I think that people are really craving a conversation about spirituality that's very
yearning,
grounded.
They are yearning. I don't know, just like wave your hand, your like cyber hand to us if you're listening. If you're yearning for conversations about spirituality, but like that, our hashtag on Instagram is grounded spirituality, if any of you follow us. So it's like, this is not the woo-woo. This is not the, I'm going to meditate for 3 hours. This is like, man, taking, consciousness, expanding consciousness, increasing awareness, just like right at this present moment, the next present moment, and really being stellar in who we are, because that's what we're here to do.
Yeah. And really putting that into practical application,
right?
Into the world, and just like simple ways. But it's funny, I was talking with one of our clients this week, or one of my personal clients, and just really asking her up front of like, hey, can you describe like what do I do? And she's like, I have no freaking clue what you do. But it's awesome. And he, better it was like to talk about like, oh, well, what's changed in her life, but when we think about like the grounded piece of it and the practicality of it is like, it's simple as I try to make it all the time. I think it's just not as simple as it seems, which is
a process,
which is important though to recognize. For me, this was really important to recognize because like, well, now that I look around with a little bit different sensibility about it, you can see where a lot of places are having conversations about spirituality that are just totally spinning off into the ethers. And that's cool and that feels good and everything. But something always seemed kind of off with that around me because it's not grounded. It's like, okay, well, that's awesome. But like, I'm busy, man. Like I got a
Well,
life, I got a business, I got a
look.
partner that I care about. We got things to do. Like please help me relate to this to my life.
Exactly. Because honestly speaking, everyone, there are few people that were put on this planet to go off and meditate in a cave. Very, very few people are here for that purpose. And the ones that are holding like a massive surge of energy for the rest of you and the rest of us that are to be integrating and implementing what we learn, our spiritual practices, our better selves in the world. Like, I think it's that clear because who doesn't want to be out on the beach meditating all day? Like, what fun would that be? And it feels good. But we were planted here with a purpose. You know, everyone's got something, and train of truths come roaring right by. Everyone has a something or several things that you're here to do. And so when you're not moving and integrating in the world, you're not really fulfilling that specialness about you.
Yeah, I see it on two ends of the spectrum is people who are super active in the world, but get kind of sucked into it. And it's like, that's all
painful.
there is.
That's
right?
painful. Yeah.
It's painful to be in that. And it's also painful to watch sometimes because it's so confusing.
Very chaotic. Yeah.
And then there's the other side of that of like, well, that didn't really give me what I wanted, or I'm just feeling like, well, that's kind of a dead end. You know, sooner or later, you will wake up to that. All your pursuits in the world are functionally a dead end, you know, because they all lead back home to you know, and the unfoldment of your potential. And that's cool. Like when a lot of people turn that bend there, then they go right into the whole other side of that is like, well, it's just all about my spiritual unfoldment. And then it's like, well, I don't have to do anything in the world now. I'm just going to sit and meditate. And
no, you're not.
Get my, you know, it's just not like the fastest path there is actually having a foot in both worlds, but you need a massive amount of resiliency in order to do that.
Yeah, resiliency and being real in the world. You know, I love like there's some spiritual teachers. I get tagged by one. He's such a delightful being, but he's always smiling and laughing and happy. And I think that really is the nature of his personality, you know, because he's very authentic. But, you know, don't get confused. Being spiritual isn't about being, it's all okay, I'm blissed out. Like, there are just, you know, so many emotions that we go through as being human and so many experiences that we go through living in the world. It's, as always, how are we managing ourselves so that we can manage those experiences and those emotions as we are in the world? Because the world isn't always happy. And we don't have to be always happy. But the more objective we are and the more centered we are in who we are, then we can manage, we can be less affected. I think that's really the key, right, Nick?
That's
it's like,
the idea, yeah.
Be sensitive, but less affected so that whatever that Groucho at your office doesn't turn you out spinning every day, or your boss who doesn't recognize your work like you want him to, it doesn't ruin your day. Who cares? You just do what you're there to do, master yourself, and the world is like this golden gem.
Yeah, that willingness to look at yourself.
Oh,
like that's such a key piece of just look at yourself and what's agitating you, or what are the parts of you that you just really don't want to see and acknowledge. Well, how can you let a little bit more light into those areas?
Yeah.
You know, it kind of made me think of this. We've been watching The Queen. Oh no, The Crown. The name of it is The Crown.
Such a good miniseries, everyone. The Crown.
It's but it's not. It's a full series.
It's a full series.
They're planning
more.
to do several seasons.
Yeah.
So basically, if
what
you
is
have
it, Netflix, or
it's
something?
on Netflix, yeah,
so
which
good.
is like Netflix is crushing it with the cool stuff.
Watch out, HBO.
Exactly.
Showtime.
But to give everybody like a brief premise of it, you know, it's about it starts with Queen Elizabeth and how she came to be on the throne of England, right? And she's one of the longest reigning monarchs. So I can see how it's going to extend into some more seasons. I was a little worried watching the first one because I was thinking like, oh, they're going to cover it all in these episodes and then we're not going to have any more.
It's so well done.
Like there's my lack. Like I get a little like scarcity
worried about
around
his
it.
TV
Like,
shows.
oh.
It's ridiculous.
Oh, but it's so good. But anyway, there's, you know, one of the prominent characters is Winston Churchill. He's played by John Lithgow.
So good.
Brilliant. Like it's so good. And
Churchill had divine self-expression.
I think he did.
Oh, totally.
Yeah. He totally, because just, you know, he's a politician.
Yeah,
right?
but his words so eloquently, and then when people didn't listen, when they didn't listen to him, he'd get all riled up, you know.
Yeah, it was a whole thing. So I don't want to I'm going to give us spoiler, a little bit of a spoiler. It's not going to ruin the whole show for you, but if you're super into it and you just totally don't want to know, you should turn the podcast off right now and skip ahead a couple minutes. Okay. Just skip ahead a couple minutes. You can come back to it.
Yeah.
But basically for everybody else, it's like this amazing moment where Winston Churchill's, there was an artist commissioned to do a portrait of him, and this brilliant artist, you know, who is doing his portrait, and just really, you know, a person who has that ability to see below the surface and really see into a person's soul, and then express that on canvas. And it was so amazing to watch those two dialogue, and the artist to share some of the things that he saw in Winston Churchill, and Winston Churchill just being like, that's ridiculous, you know, like I don't, but then kind of like you could see this like internal struggle with him too, of like, you know, like when somebody speaks a truth to you that is just, it so touches your soul.
It's visceral too.
You just can't deny it. You know, your eyes can't deny it. So for one, John Lithgow was like, how do you even express that as an actor? I'm just so blown away by the talent. And two is it's so cool to see like, wow, like here's somebody who really is looking at him objectively and totally not judging him in any way, but he's just looking at Winston Churchill so objectively, and then pulling out those pieces, like some of the agony and the hurt and the frustration and all, like some of these deep things that he's holding on to, and just putting them right there for display. And when Winston Churchill sees it, you know, he has a reaction.
Right.
So I won't give that part away, but it's just so amazing. But what that makes me think of is like, you know, so many times when we hear that truth, if it's a really pleasant truth sometimes of like, wow, like somebody really sees some potential in you.
Yeah, it feels good.
It feels so good. And it almost brings a tear to the eye. It's like, wow, like that's such a powerful truth. And then the other side of that too is when somebody reveals something to you that you really don't want to see.
Yeah, I don't want to see it.
You see the need to be right of like, that's not me. I don't have that.
Not me, never.
When somebody answers that swiftly and that sharply, you can be pretty sure there's need to be right going on there.
Yeah.
But I just thought it was amazing. And that willingness to kind of like look and see, and like every human has that choice, you know.
It takes courage, right? I mean, you know, an unexamined life is not worth living. I think that was Socrates, and it takes courage to gaze inward. But that gaze, man, that's when we develop the richest tools of understanding and of seeing and inquiry, just directing it right back to us. Because when we can do that without creating this, you know, reaction or this response of negativity, but just to be so honest, is like, okay, I got this thing showing up, and then do some work around that to resolve it. Life is just way easier. I mean, it's just so much better.
Yeah. It really is.
And I kind of think back, you know, because this day and age, we're in the tech, what would you call it? Like scientifically and technology, we're so advanced, but people are also doing a lot of personal growth and transformation and talking about how they feel. You know, when you go back to like Lewis and Clark, I read this book about Lewis and Clark and their expedition. There was no time to really feel much. It was like, we got to stay alive. And it was really cool because someone would get sick, and Clark or Lewis or one of them would go and get these plants and fix them up, and the whole thing. Like they were moving, they were in discovery, and they were in awe every day by the earth, by this country. But they, you know, they would have like these moments that were really touching, but they had to keep going.
They had no choice.
Otherwise they would die.
Yeah, you'd die, and they wouldn't fulfill their mission.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's such, you know, it's like the unwavering focus of their mission. They did not get distracted. And I feel like our missions might not be discovering, you know, new countryside or new states or whatever, but everyone has some sort of mission. And how often do we just get off course of that, rather than being unwavering in what it is we want to achieve?
You just sucked into daily life.
Yeah.
Like it's just so easy to get sucked into the mundane, you know? You know, I want to back up for a second. You talked about like being able to see yourself, or to have somebody reflect something to you, you know, like share a truth with you, or share something that they see, or give you honest feedback about something, and having that resiliency. I feel like
there's nothing wrong with me.
I feel like, of course, not that I'm suggesting that in any way, but if it were,
you only knew.
But what it made me think of is, and I'm curious what you think about this. I feel like we had a little bit of a leg up in this area from our background in music.
Oh, this is really true.
So-
you mean in terms of like the feedback thing?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think it's unique just to musicians. Anybody who's been in performing arts or had, strong mentors.
I love that you brought that up. You either learn to take when I was in the field, like if anybody saw that movie, Wish, was it Wish with the drummer and the whole thing?
It'll come to me.
Yeah. So like it was that way. Like I went to music school back in the day when you got yelled at and when the conductor called you out, and it was like horrifying if you made a mistake. So just out of fear, you learn to get really focused, master the mental state, right? I've talked about this on my webinars where it's like, oh, that whole like mental control thing and what mindset, I got that when I was 15, because if not, people were going to boo or I wasn't going to get what I wanted in terms of band or orchestra. So mindset was like, you get it. But the soul level stuff is the deeper emotional things that can come up. But we're so used to being, I remember like my teacher, Murray Panitz, I was learning the Nielsen concerto and he's like, all right, play that phrase again and again. And again, it was like 6 notes. I'm like, dude, can we just go on with the concerto? He would not let me off those 6 notes until they were perfect. And he's like, if you can play these 6 notes perfectly, the rest of the concerto will come so much faster. And I was like, it was excruciating. But when I think about that now, there's things foundationally in our personalities and our disposition. If we can figure those out, if we can go back again and again and again and figure it out and iron it out and resolve it, the rest does really come easier.
He found Kingpin.
He found a kingpin.
Mm-hmm. Like, man, if you can just master these
this one
6
phrase.
notes,
I was so young. I was just like, come on, I just want to be a flute star.
Yeah, I know. I had lessons like that too. Just, again.
Whiplash, that was the movie.
Whiplash was the name of the movie, yeah. I never saw that one. I can't believe I never saw that.
You got to see it.
And then I remember having lessons where we would just start excerpts or just start phrases, because especially with trumpet, like that clean, confident entrance is so important.
Right.
And for me, that was something that I honestly like really struggled with in my music. I don't know if it's hard for me to say, like, I don't know if I was naturally talented or not. But I never really felt naturally talented and I never really felt super confident on stage. And so performance anxiety was definitely something that came up for me a lot. That's where I got super fascinated with the mindset stuff.
Right.
Like that just became like, wow, because when I'm in my practice room, sound great. Yeah. It sounds awesome, and I'm hitting it, it sounds, I'm recording it and it's sounding the way I think it should. And it's all going well. And then I get out on stage, man, I just start to like get really nervous.
Well, the number one thing is people start worrying what other people think. And then you're out of your body, you're out of your flow, you're not focused. And it's just like anything else. When you worry about what people think, it's just not going to go well. Stop it.
One of the most...
Just stop it.
Stop it.
Do not worry what other people think. Life is too short. Just do your thing and do it the way you want to. Of course, be kind too.
That's what we call a Kisma Smackdown right there.
Yeah, there's karma to think about.
There's, for me, there's nothing more uncomfortable.
I just got to clean that. I'm sorry, I just got to make sure it's clear. Do not worry what other people think, but honor the karmic consequences, right? So I just want everyone I'm not saying go out and start smashing cars in tonight. Honor karma, but don't worry what people think.
Yeah, don't honor. Yeah, well, okay, yeah. I think they're clear on that.
You can move on.
Yeah, that comes under it comes under the
source will, free will, make choices in line with your higher self.
It comes under the ism of ruthless honesty.
Ruthless honesty, yeah.
So ruthless honesty does not mean like go be a jerk, or anything like that. It's like, honor other people, but it's recognized. It's divine truth in balance. Which
if you want to be a
vegetarian,
be a vegetarian. If you want to eat meat. Just don't worry what other people are saying and thinking.
Right. But what I was going to say is that this is what made me want to master mindset to start with, was like the most, and maybe you agree with this, but one of the most uncomfortable places to ever be is sitting on stage and just totally spacing out.
Oh, it's the worst.
Like I've done it when I've been counting rests, because
Oh, it's the worst.
trumpet players count a lot of rests.
Yeah.
And I've also done it while I've been playing.
Don't you wish you had the 6-3 breathing back then?
Oh man,
Yeah.
it would have changed. And cord cutting.
Cord cutting would
Oh
have
my
been
God.
huge.
Like those
yeah.
things would have changed
That's why
the
all
game
our
for me.
performance clients, they're always cutting cords and getting grounded like all the time.
Yeah, they're doing, and they do
Mm-hmm.
awesome. They're like way happier, you know, it's really cool.
Yeah.
So it's neat to see how these tools translate in different realms. Like as a personnel manager at Detroit Symphony, like one of the things I always felt like too is like, the personalities are so intense.
Oh, we musicians were just little emotional bunnies.
They're intense. You know, it's like putting
Perfection is the norm.
you're putting up exactly that's baseline. Like you don't get in the door without perfection,
Right.
But then you put 100 of those people on stage together,
And a conductor.
right? With a conductor whose ego is like overshadowing them all.
Yeah.
Sometimes, and you have to have a pretty big ego to overshadow all of that. Like it's pretty intense. So like it creates all these really interesting dynamics, and I just got super fascinated with how humans function together, how they relate to one another, how they can, what can be done to bring out their best and their highest in every situation, and to help them operate in a really
Right.
functional, not just a functional way, but a really positive and productive and supportive way.
Totally.
Which is something I was really actually proud of in Detroit when
Yeah.
with our work there.
Yeah, you
I
did
thought-
great.
That was really cool.
Yeah. Cool.
So, yeah,
Gaze inward, everyone.
gaze inward, grounded spirituality.
Grounded spirituality. I mean, that's really, it always comes back to that. It's like being that objective being where you're just kind of like looking at all the stuff that's going on, all the stuff that's being said to you or shown to you or whatever, and really being able to inquire, is that like, if I get caught up in that, is that my strongest choice? Is that in alignment with my highest and best? Like if we pause every time we're about to make a decision or make a choice and ask, is it weak or strong? Our lives are going to be radically different.
Yeah.
And just by that simple inquiry, like, is this a strong decision? Is this a weak decision? Is this a strong choice? Is this a weak choice? Is it a strong action? Is it a weak action? That pause when we inquire of ourselves will eliminate so much drama and trauma, because you're taking yourself out of it by inquiring. And that's, I think, one of the most important things we can do with our brain analytically, our soul, in terms of choices. And it takes it back to us, like what is best for us.
Yeah. I had some experience with that one this week, actually. This week, I started the week actually with some anxiety.
You had anxiety?
I do. I get anxiety sometimes.
Oh.
That's why we have all the energetic tools. Like I can only imagine what I'd be like without these things.
Yeah. Like dustweed blowing in the desert.
Yeah, I don't even know what would happen. But basically, it's just a lot on the docket for this week. It really was a big week. A lot of things to get done, leading up to a day with one of our mentors, and just really wanted to have everything in order and to show up and really show what
it's true. And coming off the energy certification, then I went to Vegas to meet with one of my teachers, and then back, and it was
a lot. So I was having a little anxiety about that, and that little piece right there, like it's not always easy to take your own advice, right? And but that really came into play for me of like, okay, understanding like how I function, and understanding that I'm a person who needs a little plan. Like I got to focus on the plan first. Like if I just go start doing stuff, I'll be super productive, but none of it will necessarily matter. So it's like busy, but not productive, like busy, but not productive, right? I think is the word or the phrase for that. Whereas if I have a little plan, I can really keep that anxiety at bay. Like I can totally eliminate it actually, because like, okay, well, I got the plan. And if I can just focus on the plan and connect that plan to, why the heck I'm doing it in the first place, I'm good to go. But when I get into like just kind of doing stuff, I'm done for.
Yeah.
I suck a lot of energy. Like a lot of energy just gets scattered.
Mental energy, emotional energy.
Yeah. Well, and that's just a short step away from feeling physically depleted. You're getting up out of bed to go through another day of just doing stuff and like wondering what the heck, So that piece for me was really helpful, is like understanding that, oh man, like I really do need to have that plan first. And then once I've got that, just, work on the plan. Like
Work
just
on
work
the
the plan.
What you don't get done, do the next day.
But I don't think everybody necessarily works. I don't think do you work like that?
I do better when I have the structure because you know me, I'll just go in 10 million different directions. So yeah, when I have that list, especially the night before, it's like a simple little, well, make sure you get these things taken care of. It just keeps the focus on point, right? And it keeps the mind from going in all these different directions. So it's very helpful.
Oh, that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I always see you more as just, well, you've got that thing where you just get it done.
Yeah, I'm pretty much yeah. Mm-hmm.
You will just get it done.
Mm-hmm.
I am not the same personality. Like I will, I won't always. Is that a mom thing?
Mm-mm.
No, it's not a mom thing or like
It's
a
just
parent
me.
thing. No, it's just you.
Just let's go.
Okay, cool. Like just get it done.
I need to get this email done. I'm going to get it done.
You just get it done.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive. I've always I've really admired you for that. Actually, like that's something I've learned a lot from hanging out with you for all these years. Is like, man, like Kismet just gets it done.
Let's go.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Whew. So Kismet,
Yeah.
another big week coming up.
Yes. Yes.
So how do you plan to make this the best week ever?
Yay. As always, present to the present moment. That sounds so cliche, but it really, really is true because I know we've talked about this before on our podcast, but once we're in the past, there's most likely a sense of resentment, of anger, of regret. And when we're in the non-existent future, and the important word here is non-existent, is we've got worry and anxiety and, oh my gosh, how's it going to work out? And the present moment really is like, that's the one, like you were talking about getting things done. When you're in that moment, you're breathing, you're anchoring, you're enjoying it. Like you're in the moment. It's so rich. So I'm really going to dedicate this week to absolutely being present to the present moment because I've got like 3 webinars. I have a bunch of clients, couple of trainings, create the second module for Signs of Spirituality. And it's just like, I really want to be fully present.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And it will take, all of those things will take so much less energy for anything that you have to do for you guys out there. It takes so much less energy when you're really present to the present moment.
So that's your kingpin.
It's hard to be 3 people at once, past, present, and future.
It is.
That's a lot of people to be.
It's very stressful.
Yeah. It doesn't work.
Well, what about planning wise? Like, do you?
Yeah, it's all on my calendar.
Yeah, so you calendar it all in. Yeah,
it's all. We had an implementation day together. So, like for us, we went in and marked a bunch of things and office space, and yeah, it's all mapped out as well as like time to create content. And this is a go, like because we have 2 weeks before we leave for India, and then a lot of things will be automated in our business. So. I do find like if I go in the future, I'll be like, but there's no time for me. There's plenty of time for me. There's so much time for me. And I'm just going to get everything in place to go for when I'm away.
Yeah. Yeah. It becomes really important, especially, coming up on a trip like this.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's very cool.
What about you? The best week ever?
Best week ever? Well, I definitely have my plan. It was interesting today when we started to chunk out like all of our projects in different things, and it's pretty staggering how much actually we create. You know? And then we have all these different projects, and that's why I think sometimes I don't always think of myself as a podcaster.
You're a podcaster.
But I'm totally a podcast. We're podcasting right now. But I think that's one of the reasons is because there's all this other stuff around it.
Yeah.
That's super exciting too. Like we're just, we're creative people. So for me, it's, I got a plan in place. And it's really just, the biggest thing for me is making sure that I'm diligent with my own practices in the morning.
Yeah, right.
Something that's become really important to me right now is a meditation practice. And making sure that I'm really taking the time to connect. It's something that I don't skip often, but when I do, I notice that there's a challenge. I definitely have challenges around. I feel less grounded.
Yeah.
I don't always have the resiliency that I need.
That makes sense.
Yeah. But so making sure that I'm really dedicated to those pieces, and doing them thoroughly, because then it's not that I'll skip them all together, but I'll just like, I'm a little pressed for time, so I gotta, kind of shorten.
Yeah. You got to talk to the mind. I got to get your downloads.
And I know you are so good about that.
They come.
And like she's writing all these emails and I'm like, wow, like where'd that come from? And she's like, I just downloaded it, I'm like, wow.
Divine self-expression.
Yeah. It's divine self-expression just coming right
divine
through.
love. So he's got to spend some time loving.
Yeah, I do. That's important to me. Like that really sets a great stage for me, and it helps me just refine all the cool stuff I do, and it helps me show up in a way where I have more fun.
Right.
So really, to me, like honestly, the biggest focus for me is to just stay true to the plan that I set in place. It's solid. I have plenty of space for me to be me, and to not feel like I have to run to every next thing and just cram it all in. But to do it with some joy. Like really bring joy into everything that I do, and making sure that I give myself the space to do that, because this is where it starts to get heavy. This is what I noticed for me, is where it starts to get heavy is when I simply don't take the time to do this. Not that I can't. I believe this of anything. It's not that you can't bring joy into everything. It's that sometimes, or even many times, you have to take a moment to shift your perspective. You have to take a moment to allow the joy in.
Yeah, that's really a good point.
And when you get into that mode of just do, next thing, it tends to diminish the joy. Your joy tends to kind of like get like choked off. It's like there's a kink in the hose because you're just not allowing as much. Like it's always there for you. You just have to allow it in.
Right.
So for me is just making sure that there's moments to, refocus on that and let joy be one of the most important things, because I just think that, man, any work that you do is just so much better when you bring joy into it.
Well, joy is the highest vibratory emotion.
Is it really?
Right. Well, that, David Hawkins, power versus force. Pretty sure it's joy.
Oh, wow.
I think it's above love.
Wow.
Shame is the lowest, shame and guilt, and then
Shame.
love and joy are up there. So,
apathy.
Yeah, man, bring your joy.
Bring your joy.
Well, can I ask a favor?
Of course.
I know we usually don't do this and we didn't talk about it, but since we're talking about like these grounded spirituality techniques and being in the world and creating your best week and not being affected, can I give a little plug for my Science of Spirituality?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. So I'm just going to go really quick, everyone. So we'll make sure there's a link on the show notes, but honestly, this is an online training that started out as 4 modules. Then I added a 5th module. And then it is really about getting back to the true spirituality for success. So I talk about like your highest path. I talk about energetic cleansing so you can get a clearing in there. Relationships, like there's a whole module on successful relationships because everything is relational. We have like the power of action. It's the coolest thing. So if you click on there, you can find it. It's like the special deal right now. I'm not going to say what it is, so you can click and look, but you're saving like $400 and you can go through it as you want. And then there's this super cool Facebook group where all of my students are going in that are in this course and they're stellar. And it's like, you can ask questions every day. And I'm just like, this is it. It's the beginning of a humongous tribe.
I got to tell you, I noticed the group. You put me in the group, but I didn't.
They're cool.
Yeah, they're super cool.
So
people.
Shout out to all my peeps in the Science of Spirituality Facebook group. Yes.
They're awesome. And they're asking really cool questions.
Good questions.
Like
yeah.
That's one of the things, I don't want to get off on a tangent, but
go for it.
But that's one of the things that I really look for and really appreciate in people is the quality of their questions.
Totally.
When people come in,
yeah.
It's not that I judge anybody for a question.
No, but you will learn. I mean,
yeah.
We were taught at the Vedanta Academy how to ask a question. And so part of having this Facebook group that goes along with the 5 module course that I have to say is stellar, you will learn how to ask a question. So if you put something in there and it's not quite I'll help you, right? So I'm going to help people formulate questions because when you ask the right question, you get the answer you want really fast.
Yeah. Yeah. You get the exact answer that you want. When you don't ask a good question, you don't always get the answer that you're really looking for. And then you're like disappointed. Like, so that wasn't what I was
I'm all
asking.
about this. By the time the podcast, when you're listening, we probably will have 2 or 3 modules out. There'll be a total of 5. They'll be wrapped up and finished, hopefully before I go to India. And then I'm really excited because I'll be popping things in there. Like this is the foundational platform for coming in or continuing with us, right? Like the spiritual platform. So when I get a teaching, man, I'm going to put that in the Facebook group or I'll create another video or whatever it is. So I'm just so excited about this.
It's a little, it's really cool. It's a container for all of your, all these messages that come through you, you seem to channel like so much information.
Yeah. So, and it really is an amazingly anybody can do it tuition. So if you're interested, click on the link. Thank you for giving me the space to talk about it because I get real excited.
It's awesome. I'm super excited for you. And I really dig the people in there and I can't wait to get to know them better.
Yeah.
So
awesome.
Come join us and join the Kisma. She's just having a blast doing what she does. And it's all comes back to that conversation around grounded spirituality. It's just, man, it's just making it relevant in your life, like having real conversations and things, about things that matter in the context of everyday life.
Right.
And that's I just can't think of anything more valuable than that. So
love it.
Love it. I'm super happy for you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So cool.
As you for having your energy certification. We talked about that last week. That's awesome.
Yeah, that was very cool. Yeah.
And to all of you out there, thank you for being here. We truly adore you. Any questions, email us info@sourcemovement.com.
Absolutely. Have a great week, everybody. Peace.
Namaste.